Welcome back to Case Unveiled. I'm Alex, your guide through history's most perplexing mysteries. In this episode, we delve into the enigmatic case of George Smith IV, whose dream honeymoon aboard a cruise turned into an unsolved mystery. Join us as we piece together this captivating and tragic story in Mystery at Sea, the George Smith Disappearance. In the picturesque Newport, Rhode Island, George Smith IV and Jennifer Hagel's wedding on June 25, 2005, was a scene of joy and celebration. The cliffside ceremony, against the backdrop of the Atlantic, was attended by a close-knit group of friends and family, marking the beginning of what seemed like a perfect union.
George proposed to me when we were vacationing in Aruba, very romantically, watching the sunset. Last February 2004, and he surprised me with this ring. George had it all. He was funny and romantic and handsome.
The wedding had a gem of a setting, a garden overlooking the ocean in ritzy Newport, Rhode Island, where George's family had a summer place.
It was just the perfect day. It was magical. It was the best day of my life.
Their honeymoon, a voyage across the Mediterranean aboard Royal Caribbean's Brilliance of the Seas, promised a blend of romance and adventure. The couple's itinerary included stops at some of Europe's most beautiful and historic ports, each a symbol of the exciting journey ahead. As the ship sailed the azure waters of the Mediterranean, George and Jennifer encountered Josh Askin and his family during a guided excursion in the Renaissance heart of Florence, Italy. Little did anyone know, this chance meeting would later become a focal point in a mysterious puzzle that unfolded on the high seas. The morning of July 5, 2005, brought a harrowing discovery. A large, ominous bloodstain was found on a metal canopy beneath the Smiths' cabin. Suddenly, the cruise liner transformed from a vessel of joy to a floating crime scene.
I noticed that there was this red blood stain on it, and I didn't think it was blood at first.
She snaps this photo, just as other early risers are starting to also notice the same sickening smear. Ship personnel are notified and start searching cabins just above. Number 9062 is empty. A page goes out on ship speakers for Mr. and Mrs. Smith. A groggy Josh Askin awakens.
Josh finally sticks his head out and advises his cabin attendant, if you're looking for George, he had a lot to drink last night, he might not hear the page.
George Smith, the jubilant groom, had vanished, leaving behind only questions and a sense of foreboding among the passengers and crew. Rewinding to the night of July 4th, the last evening George was seen. He and Jennifer were captured by the ship's security cameras, enjoying their time in the casino. These images, now crucial evidence, show the couple in high spirits, unaware of the tragedy that would soon unfold. The time-stamped footage serves as a haunting reminder of the suddenness with which fate can turn.
George is also captured on tape. He takes his usual place at the craps table next to Josh Askin from California.
George taught him how to play craps, which was neat.
There is another group making the rounds that night. Young men who, like Josh, are vacationing with their families. Brothers Zachary and Jeffrey Rosenberg from Brooklyn, New York, and their cousin Gregory Rosenberg from Florida. One of them had brought a friend, Rusty Kaufman. The boys' families had emigrated from the Soviet Union, so they became known in the events that followed as the Russians.
There would be stories about coarse behavior among these young Russian passengers.
Josh agrees they were loud, they stood up. They were flashy guys, they were gregarious. They drank a lot.
By midnight, the joint is jumping. At one point on the security tapes, you can see George and Josh walk by together. This is the last known image of George Smith.
In the early hours of July 5th, Jennifer is found unconscious in a ship corridor, her memories of the preceding hours fragmented. Her disorientation adds a layer of mystery to the case. What happened after the couple left the casino? Jennifer's inability to recall crucial details of that night poses more questions than it answers. deepening the enigma surrounding George's disappearance.
So you were grilling her. You wanted to know what happened.
Right. I said, well, where were you? And she said, you know, I was passed out. She said, I don't remember. And I wish that she did. Honestly, I wish that she did.
He would have been a loyal father and husband to Jennifer Hagel for many years. And unfortunately, I am 100% convinced he was betrayed.
The spotlight turns to Josh Askin and the three Russian-American men last seen with George: Rusty Kaufman, Greg Rosenberg, and Zach Rosenberg. Their account of a night filled with partying and their gesture of helping an intoxicated George back to his cabin initially seems innocuous. However, inconsistencies soon emerge, particularly with the missing room service records, casting doubt on their narrative and suggesting that the truth might be more complex and sinister.
Turkish police had gathered the last known men to see George alive. The men claimed that after a night of partying, they had tucked George into bed and left his cabin.
After we dropped him off the second time, we closed the door, we never saw him. Never saw him again. He said the story. That was it. Never saw him again.
But a 48 hours investigation has uncovered questionable alibis, failed polygraphs, and new details about a provocative video made by three of the men, Rusty Kaufman and Greg and Zach Rosenberg.
It's ridiculously provocative. It's to the point that you would say, why hasn't law enforcement looked at this and said, we've got to talk to these young men some more? They pass a video camera around, filming themselves, commenting about George's death in a very callous way. But the really sort of incriminating statement is one of them stands up at the end of the tape and sort of hunches his shoulders and flashes gang signs and says, told you I was gangsta. And that's in the context of the discussion about George's death, almost as if he's bragging about having done something to George.
And which young man was that?
Greg Rosenberg.
Greg Rosenberg's lawyer says his client didn't yet know George was dead and was just making a stupid comment. Lawyers for Rusty Kaufman and Zach Rosenberg declined to comment about the tape.
The evidence is huge.
George's sister Bree is frustrated that the case remains unsolved.
Why hasn't someone been arrested?
A shocking twist emerges when a video made by these men, just hours after George's disappearance, comes to light. The contents of the video, though not shown, are described as deeply unsettling. Their cavalier remarks about George's fate and overall demeanor raise serious concerns about their possible involvement, or at the very least, their sensitivity to the gravity of the situation. Early theories suggested by the ship's captain lean towards an accidental fall. However, the Smith family vehemently disagrees, pointing to the blood evidence and an ear witness report of an argument on George's balcony.
It sounded like furniture moving. I could hear cabinet doors opening and closing, like maybe things were being put away or that they were looking for something. And then it appeared to be concentrated out on the balcony area. And then there was silence. It got very quiet.
Silent for how long? A couple minutes? Or?
Yes, maybe 3 minutes, approximately. And at that point, that's when I heard what I describe as a horrific thud.
Years of FBI investigation have yet to bring closure, leaving the family and public to speculate about what truly happened that fateful night.
100% certainty that it was foul play.
He was murdered.
He was murdered.
His family has been determined to not let the memory of George Smith fade away. Feelings both of sentiment and a desire for justice.
Every day we work on his case, don't we? Every single day.
The disappearance of George Smith IV remains a haunting reminder of the unpredictability of life and the depths to which truth can be buried. This case, still unresolved, continues to intrigue and sadden those who hear it. Thank you for joining us on Case Unveiled. I'm Alex, hoping we've shed some light on this dark chapter of the sea's history. Until next time, keep seeking the truth.
I hope you enjoy it with the people that wanted George around.
One of his friends told me that he'd like to believe that they could still pop the cork on that wine bottle and be able to ask Jen to the table.
I don't think it'll ever happen. I think Jennifer betrayed George. She's not invited.